Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of The Shift with Gina. I hope you all had a wonderful Christmas. Well, we're technically still in the 12 days of Christmas, so I hope you are enjoying the Christmas season. Ours was pretty slow. We had a pretty chill Christmas. My 91-year-old grandmother came down to live with my parents. That was sort of the big thing that happened. She came down a couple of days before Christmas, and she's struggling with dementia, so it's been, I'll just say, how do I say, it has been a difficult transition for my parents more than anybody else. But other than that, pretty tame, pretty calm Christmas. We really enjoyed the day. I cooked quite a bit the first couple of days before Christmas, the day before Christmas Eve and Christmas Eve. Spent a lot of time cooking, so it was really nice to have a lot of leftovers, and just haven't really been cooking much the last few days since Christmas, which is a nice break. I won't lie, it's a nice little break. So today we have the biggest topic we're going to talk about today is the viral conservative dad's calendar that has just been talked about to death on the internet, especially Twitter. I think in the last week or two, it has been a really hot topic on Twitter. So maybe I'm a little bit late to it, but I've just been seeing so much content about it. Maybe now is the time to just chat about it really quick before we hop on to anything else. If we do have time after that, I'm going to show you a video of a woman talking about her regret of becoming a mother. And this is also a new trend that's happening. There are a lot of moms now who get online, they get on social media, and they talk about their deep regret of becoming a mother. They don't like motherhood. In fact, they hate motherhood. They say in many ways it ruined their lives. So we'll talk about this trend and how we should be responding to it. But before we get into all of that, this episode, as always, is brought to you by The Shift Community, my women's health group that's hosted online on Mighty Networks. A lot of women ask if they need a social media account to join. You don't need a Facebook account or anything like that. You just need an email address. We host everything on Mighty Networks. This is a health and wellness focused group, although that's not the only thing we do. We are starting on January 2nd. On Tuesday, we are starting the 30-day reset. So we're always doing health challenges in my group. We're always doing some kind of exclusive challenge or program on there. So on January 2nd, we're starting with the 30-day reset. It's going to be a great way to kick off the new year. We're going to be doing a kind of an elimination diet. There will be daily wellness tasks to achieve. We have some monthly goals to achieve. We're going to have a weekly live stream, usually featuring a guest each week during the month, sharing weekly recipes, doing weekly workouts together. So it's a whole program for 30 days that is meant to get you in the groove of the new year, help you reset your diet, reset your mindset, and make sure you feel equipped for the new year. So click the link in the description to join us if you are a woman. Sorry, men. Girls only. If you're a guy listening, if you want to share the link with somebody like a sister or your girlfriend or wife or mom, feel free to share this with them. They can get a lot from the group. It doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter what demographic you're in, what stage of life you're in. I have girls who are in their 20s who are single and living on their own. And I've got women who are 30s, 40s, 50s, even 60s. Some are moms, some aren't. We got a wide variety. So don't feel like you have to be a certain demographic to join. So let's jump into it. The conservative dad's calendar. This is like the hottest thing everybody is talking about. A lot of different people are sharing the cover of it, but let's just look at the cover before we get into what's inside. So here's the cover. It's called Conservative Dads, Real Women of America 2024 calendar, featuring the most beautiful conservative women in America! ! And the cover model is Riley Gaines, who is a swimmer, a collegiate swimmer, now an activist who spoke out against, how am I going to say this on YouTube without getting banned? She spoke out against the tea issue. I can't say that word. Against the tea issue. And she has gained a lot of notoriety for her willingness to speak out against this issue that is infiltrating women's sports. See how I put that without saying the actual word? For those of you who are watching, I know, I'm just going to get out of the way. I know it looks like I'm drinking urine. Okay. I know it looks like it. It's barley tea. It's so obviously not urine, but I know someone in the comment section is going to say something if I don't say it now. It's barley tea. I love it. It's very popular. Koreans drink boricha. It's very popular to drink. But during my pregnancies, I never liked the taste of plain water, which is apparently very common because the hormones will make water taste like metal in your mouth, and it'll make it taste like rust in your mouth. So I hate the taste of regular water. So I constantly have to make my water flavored. And I usually will like juice so many lemons because I also like the tart sour flavor when I'm pregnant. So for the first few months of my pregnancy, I was juicing all of these lemons just to drink some water that didn't taste like water. And then my mom started making some barley tea at home. And I used to, when I go to her house, I'll just like chug a bunch of it because it tastes so good, has slight nutty flavor. So I just made a bunch myself, and that's what I'm drinking. Okay. It's not urine. I feel like I have to get that out of the way. Conservative Dads, Real Women of America. This is a calendar that features 12 different photos of women, and they're in certain poses. Some poses are sexual. Some of the pictures are not sexual. And this calendar is associated with ultra right beer. There is a brand called Ultra Right Beer. They market themselves as 100% woke-free American beer. And this brand is founded by Seth Weathers. And he's been very successful at promoting this brand of beer online because he released an ad in the spring of 2023 where he said, America's been buying beer from a company that doesn't even know which restroom to use. There's a new beer in town. And the tweet got like 47 million impressions, and the ad got super popular. So I think he's been selling a lot of ultra right beer. So this calendar is a product of ultra right beer. So it's marketed towards the conservative dads of America. And on the cover, for those of you who are not watching, if you're just listening to the audio, if you haven't seen it, the cover of this calendar shows Riley Gaines in a bikini lying down poolside on her back, arms over her head, back arched, sensual pose, right? So let's take a look at the photos in the calendar because Seth Weathers shared the photos of the women in the calendar online because it was getting a lot of heat. So he was like, I'm just going to share all 12 of the photos. Let's see, where do we start? Let's start here. Okay, so as you can see, Catalina Lauf, I don't know who she is, but she's wearing jean shorts in front of a red Mustang. She's beautiful. Okay, this picture's not sexual to me. Okay, let's just go through all of them. Here's another one. Ashley St. Clair, very popular online. She's wearing, I guess like a formal dress with black gloves, right? Hair pulled back, sitting in front of the beer. I think this is meant to be a sort of like response to the Dylan Mulvaney Bud Light ad that he did with the beer. Here's another one, Kim Klasick. She ran for Congress in Baltimore. She's just standing in front of a painted wall, with her leg up. Okay, that seems fairly benign to me. And here's the Riley Gaines one. It's another variation of that cover photo where she's in a bikini and she's lying down by the pool, pulling the sunglasses down. And then here's another one. I don't know who this is, but she's wearing a bikini top, jean shorts. This one is, now you're starting to get in the more like sexual territory where you see this photo and come on, let's not sugarcoat it. That's sexual. Okay. And that's what they're going for. And we can go back and see a few more. So this one is of Bethany Bartlett. I don't know who that is, but she's in the gym. She's working out. Okay. Here's one of Brittany Jean. I don't find this one to be particularly sexual. She's wearing a one piece with a little cover up around her hips. She's beautiful, barefoot on the beach. Okay. It's pretty benign. Sarah Gonzalez, commentator for The Blaze. Don't find this one to be particularly sexual either. She's just wearing a cute dress and burning a New York Times newspaper with a cigar. Okay. Let's see. I think that might've been all the ones that I can find. So that's what the photos look like. Oh, there's the very popular one that was gaining a lot of attention was the Redheaded Libertarian. She's a very popular person online. I think she's head of content or content creator for Timcast. She is a mom of 3. She's an award-winning pie baker. So this is a picture of her month. Her name's Josie. She's got red hair. She's in a dress and she's posing with a pie in her kitchen. This is her kitchen. And this is the picture that I think started the sort of outrage about this calendar. So this is what we're talking about today. This is the calendar, Conservative Dads of America. So I know everyone's arguing about whether these pictures are too sexual or not. Everyone's arguing about whether these pictures are appropriate for the conservative movement to be selling to dads because it is marketed to conservative dads. But let me tell you the very first thing I think about these photos. And I'm going to be honest, I'm not trying to be rude, and this is not at all to do with the actual women who are posing. But let me tell you something about these photos. The most offensive thing to me about these photos is that it is so poorly done. The quality of this shoot is just so poorly done. The lighting, the composition, the direction of photography, it's just, it's lacking, very lacking in creativity and honestly lacking in beauty. These women are beautiful, and I feel like the shoot has done them a disservice. So the criticism about the shoot itself is not about the women. It's about the quality of the shoot. And I look at these photos and it's just so poorly lit. And they're not good. That's honestly the biggest thing that I see from these photos. And it makes me think so much about how conservatives have a really, really hard time with art. Like anything creative, conservatives just really struggle with. And I should be clear and say modern day conservatives. I don't know what it is, but it's like these photos are really hard to look at. They're just not well done. Again, I have to say, I'm not talking about the beauty of these women. These women are beautiful women. They didn't do anything wrong. There's nothing bad about the way that they look, their face and their bodies. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the quality of the photo shoot. Anytime that conservatives try to do something that is remotely close to art, it's not good. Why is it always bad? I just don't know why. I don't know why this happens. I think there are very few people in the conservative movement who understand art and who understand how to put together a nice photo shoot. And it's a sad thing to see because I actually think it's a good thing to celebrate beauty. Okay, I think that it's something that our society has lost a lot of, and the war on beauty is not good for our society. Now, we'll get into that a little bit, whether this is an appropriate type of beauty to celebrate, but just about beauty in general, I think that conservatives have a really hard time correcting where we have gone in terms of beauty. There's been a war on beauty in our society for a long time, and conservatives are really bad at countering that war because they just have a really bad creative eye. And that's why there's this, and it's not a stereotype because it's true. And they've done, not that we need studies to prove this, but they've done studies to prove this. People who are more liberal, they tend to be much more talented artists. And that is so apparent in the modern day conservative movement. Like, it's really hard to find conservatives who are good at art. And that's one of the reasons why we keep losing the culture, because every time conservatives try to do something that's like remotely artful, it's so bad. And I don't know why. So that's honestly my first reaction to this. It's not even a good celebration of women's beauty. Like the lighting and stuff is I just don't think it's very good. And I think that if we're going to celebrate beauty, the beauty of women, can we do a little bit better? Can't we do a little bit of better quality than that? But, then again, this is a calendar that's like released by a beer company. This is not meant to be some sort of cultural movement. I don't think it's meant to be some big cultural statement. I think it was just something that the beer company threw together, thought it would be a good product, some good merch to sell. They rounded up some very popular conservative, some of these women aren't even conservative, like, people like Josie and Ashley St. Clair. I don't think they call themselves. Pretty sure they've been open about saying that they're not conservative, but they fall into the category on the right because of a lot of their beliefs. But so I don't, again, this calendar is not meant to be some sort of like cultural iconic thing. It's just some merch that's being sold by a beer company on the right. But I do think that the right in general has a really hard time creating. I've talked about this a lot before, and I don't think many people on the right even are able to acknowledge this or identify it, but I think this is a really big problem of the right, and one of the reasons why the right keeps losing culture, because the right has a really difficult time creating. What they like to do a lot of is imitation, and they like to do replication. Okay, so here's what I mean by that. The whole shoot of Dylan Mulvaney with Bud Light, they basically, what they did with a lot of these photos here is they tried to recreate that. They tried to do like a conservative version of that. And you have a lot of these media companies like Daily Wire, for example, they do this a lot with, things like Hershey, the Hershey chocolate bar. They do their own conservative version of chocolate bars. And it's just like, I think, and they did the same thing with the movie Lady Ballers. I didn't watch Lady Ballers, but it was a comedy that was about men identifying as women and being, going into sports or whatever, and the women's sports being infiltrated. It was a comedy. It was like a slapstick comedy. And it was just a sort of like a conservative version of something like Anchorman or, that kind of style of comedy. I just feel like conservatives, all they really do is like they just do the opposite of what the left does. And I personally don't think that's going to move the needle forward very much when it comes to culture. And I know a lot of people on the right, they're like, well, all you do is sit there and complain about it. What are you doing about it to change culture? I'm like, okay, yeah, you can have that response, but I think we can also have an honest discussion of the right really struggles with creating content. Okay, not content, but creating anything that is remotely cultural. I think the right really struggles with that. I don't know why. I think one of the reasons why is because these companies on the right, when they're doing these things, when they're doing these kinds of projects, whether it's movies or TV shows or products that they're selling, I think the main focus is revenue. The main focus is trying to sell as many subscriptions or sell as many products as they can. And when that is your driving motivation, you're going to have something a little bit different. You're going to have a different outcome rather than when the motivation is to create a piece of art or to create a piece of culture that is going to make a statement in our society. Do you get what I mean? You see the difference there? So I think one of the reasons why the right is so bad at culture and art is because when they're creating all these things, their primary objective is to make money off of it, which is fine. That's, I'm not saying you shouldn't make money. I'm just saying, though, that that's going to have a very different outcome. That's one of the reasons why we're so bad at making art and changing culture, because in very few cases are these companies trying to primarily change culture. It's really just about selling as many subscriptions and products as you can. And that is going to affect the outcome of the project. So those are my initial thoughts on the calendar, is that it's almost like embarrassing. Like this is conservatives' best shot at, featuring beautiful women on the right. Like it's just, I feel like it was a swing and a miss in terms of quality. And secondly, after that, now let's dive into whether these pictures are even appropriate, because that's what the big conversation was about. Okay, now are these photos too sexual? Are they soft porn? Because that's been a term that's thrown around in regards to these photos, soft porn. And there's a lot of criticism about this calendar, saying that we should not be selling this to conservatives and we shouldn't be marketing it as something that we want to buy for your conservative dad. I showed my husband some of these photos, as many as I could find, and he agreed with me in terms of the fact that some of these photos were fine. Some of these photos are not particularly sexual, like the photo of Sarah Gonzalez, Brittany Jean, like Catalina Laugh. I don't think they're particularly sexual, inappropriate photos. They're just, photos of pretty women. But there definitely are some photos in here that are sexual, and that my husband said he would not feel comfortable. He would not allow me to take photos like that for other men because yes, this calendar is being sold to men. So yeah, there are definitely some photos in here that are inappropriate and they are overly sexual. And you can call us prude. You can call us puritanical or childish, whatever you want to think, whatever you want to say. That's fine. You know, a lot of the responses are, well, you're just jealous you didn't get selected for the calendar. You're just jealous you don't look as good at that as them. I think it's such an intellectually dishonest answer. It's an ad hominem answer. Like, okay, you think we're jealous. That ends the conversation. Like if we're going to have an honest adult conversation about these photos, yeah, there are some photos in here that I find to be like, I don't think a mom and a wife should be doing these poses. I don't think any woman really, but particularly mothers and wives, I don't think it's a good idea to promote this on the right. Because here's the thing though, is it's almost hypocritical of a lot of these people to criticize these photos, because we see photos like this all the time in right-wing spaces. Let me show you an example. You see stuff all the time of memes talking about the trad wife, memes talking about the traditional family. And they're women that are like totally half naked. Look at this, for example. Okay. So that top left photo there, woman is in a very scantily clad outfit, a little tiny bikini, and she's carrying a baby. Her breasts are spilling out. Yeah, she's beautiful. She's model material. Okay. But she's like almost naked. And that photo has been shared all over right-wing Twitter. People saying, this is what men really want. Right. And you can see the little meme there. The cartoon guy is like, this is all men want in the world. There's only one thing that men want, and it's this. And they're sharing photos like this. That is worse than like most of the photos in this calendar. And then you look at the photo below. It's Josie, redheaded libertarian, holding her pie. And people are like offended by this. Like, hello, human resources. I deem this inappropriate. Can we please be consistent here? Why is right-wing Twitter? This is why the right is so annoying to me. It's like, you guys are so selective and hypocritical sometimes. You're totally fine with this like softcore porn being shared through memes and being distributed online, as long as it's about traditional family values. We're talking about the trad wife, but then you see a woman holding a pie with a shorter skirt on in her kitchen, and it's like, you know, that's where we're gonna draw the line. Here's another example. So I don't know who this Twitter account is. Peaked Deleted Sin. I don't know if it's it's a woman. She said, can anyone explain the extreme difference in right-wing trad men's reaction to these two photos? Is it simply because the green kimono woman isn't looking into the camera, so she doesn't know about the photo shoot she's modeling in? So if you look at the first photo, this woman has an extremely low-cut dress on. And no dress is also very short, bare legs. She's leaning over the table, very almost like seductively, and she's helping her daughter supposedly eat noodles. Okay. Now this is another meme that's been shared everywhere. This is all men really want. There's only one thing that men want in the world, and it's this. Right-wing Twitter is totally fine with this. I see a lot of conservative people share memes like this. They're totally fine with this. And then let's look at the photo again of Josie. And then they get really upset about this. This is what really annoys me. It's like I see women at conservative political conferences dressing more promiscuously than half the women in this calendar. I see women on stages at conservative political events wearing outfits very similar to some of these outfits in the calendar, and nobody blinks an eye. Nobody says a thing. But now, because it's in a calendar and it's being labeled as beautiful women of America, now we're upset about it. There's just no consistency here. And all of the memes online about trad wives and trad life, it's like, they're all just trad porn. And I've said this before in many previous episodes. I think the trad obsession is just a fetish. it's just a fetish of seeing beautiful women walking around half naked or in low cut sundresses, barefoot, carrying a baby and breastfeeding the baby. Oh, that's all men really want, is to see like sexy images of scantily clad women with children at their feet. And then they see a calendar for conservative dads and they freak out. That's why this sort of inconsistency is so annoying to me. Like, can we just be honest, please? Can we have conversations about, like, can we have adult conversations about this? So honestly, those are my initial thoughts on the calendar. Now, there's been some, the conversation has definitely taken a turn where people are coming at the women in the calendar specifically, and they're calling them names and whatever. I don't want to participate in that. I don't. I just don't want to participate in that. This is not meant to be like to start drama against any of the women who participated in these photos. I don't think it's probably no surprise to some of these women that as Christian women, we're not going to, it's not something that we want to condone or participate in. I don't think that's surprising to anybody, but I don't think that needs to delve into something that's like, being cruel to them or calling them names. I want to read this tweet by a Twitter account called Ortho Housewife. I just discovered her. I like some of her tweets. She's an Orthodox Christian. And this is her tweet about the calendar. The half-nude calendar debate is not really surprising if you have any, quote, conservatives in your family. They defend pornography like it's baseball. I've had men in my family say, "You just want women to wear a full burqa?" As if there's nothing that's in the middle of burqa or topless. Maybe a dress that goes past your knees, pants, any clothing at all would actually be fine. The significance of Christ, culture, and art have been ripped from us by the retelling of lies. These are the fruits of modern living. My one thing about being a traditionalist is I understand that I would be much better off without many of my comforts or vices. And there's something in this tweet that I really like when she talks about the burqa thing, because anybody who is like slightly critical of these photos and talking about the fact that we should not be promoting this kind of calendar as a pillar of conservatism, the response is this another intellectually dishonest response of, oh, so what? You just want to be Muslim? You want women to wear burqas and cover their whole body and their whole face? Okay, yeah, obviously that's like, come on. Can we have an adult conversation? Nobody is saying that. Nobody's saying that. It's like, it's the same type of argument as somebody who says, I morally oppose abortion. And they're like, oh, so you want women to die? You want to force 11-year-olds to have kids? Like, that's so not what anybody is saying. Can you go somewhere else and be unserious, please? So that's why these responses of these conservatives are just like, they just want women to wear full burqas. It's not what we're saying at all. There's nothing wrong with saying that I think that women should be a little bit more modest. I just think that our culture has desensitized us to nudity and desensitized us to anything that is remotely sexual in terms of women in photos, women posing online. And again, I think another big thing here is the inconsistencies and the hypocrisy. A lot of the people who are talking about this calendar, it's like they're liking all of the memes with the half-naked women carrying kids around because it's about trad wives. And like I said earlier, I do think it's a good thing to celebrate beauty. And I think that's one thing that our society is lacking. And I think it's one thing that conservatives are not really good at. I don't think there's anything wrong with celebrating women's beauty. We've seen that in classic art, especially art of the Renaissance. Like, that was a very common thing. So I don't think there's anything wrong with celebrating women's beauty. But I think that there is absolutely a way to do that without having the women take off their clothes or be half naked. Not saying that all the photos in the calendar were like that. There were certainly plenty of photos in there that weren't like that. But there were some that were inappropriate. I don't think there's anything wrong with saying that. So, this is it's a big divide now in the conservative side. And there is some responses like, this doesn't really matter that much. Why are we harping on it so much? And in a way, I do kind of understand that, because it's like just a calendar. It's just like a product, some merch from a beer company. So it's, again, like I said earlier, it's not some sort of like cultural statement about conservatives in general. But it's still worth talking about because I think that conservatives are still divided on what it means for women to be modest. And I do also think that a lot of people on the right have become used to, how do I put this, to cruelty towards women who maybe don't make the best choices in their outfits and the way they present themselves to the world. And I don't think that's very productive either, calling names and like digging up their past and saying they've hit the wall and a lot of really uncharitable, unkind things. I don't think that's going to help anybody. But I do think that as conservatives, we have to decide, what are we really trying to conserve here? Nobody is saying that you need to dress head to toe, totally covered up, and you can't ever wear skirts or you can't ever wear a bathing suit. No one's saying that, but there is a really big difference between what we saw in some of these photos in the calendar and dressing beautifully that is not necessarily like the way that the Amish dress. There's a big difference. There is a middle ground there, and I don't think there's anything wrong with trying to figure out what that middle ground is. It's just been a very tiring thing to watch because people are still arguing about it. They're doing Twitter spaces, they're at each other's throats, they're calling names. And it's exhausting. Sometimes the internet is just so exhausting, you guys. Maybe we should watch this video. Let's just watch this last video here about the motherhood regret. This video is really sad, but it's about 3 minutes long, but we can get through it. We can kind of fast forward it. This is a woman who is sharing her story about motherhood regret. So there's going to be music playing in the background. I'm not even going to play the sound. I'm just going to play the video. And as the text comes up, I'm going to read it to you. Okay. So for those of you who are listening, you can just hear what is written on the video. And if you're watching, you can also see the video and see photos of the mother and stuff. Here we go. I hate being a mother since my daughter's head came out at birth. I regret it every day. Carla Tenorio is a 38-year-old mother and writer who decided to speak up once and for all about her regret of being a mother. When I got married, I didn't want to be a mother, she says, but I gave in to my husband's wish, who wanted to become a father. When my daughter was born, it was like they have given me a beating. I thought, I wish I would have never gotten pregnant. Carla is now a mother of a 10-year-old. And although she claims to love her a lot, it's not actually the unconditional love everyone speaks of. It's a social construction that's imposed where women must completely give up their lives for their kids. But I never felt that way. That was a quote by Carla. Carla planned her pregnancy for 2 long years. But a traumatic event made her regret. I'm waiting for the video to show the next words. She says, I gave birth to my daughter at home with a midwife, but it hit me really hard when I had my baby in my arms. Everything was prepared for the big day. But nothing I had read before reflected what I was experiencing at that time. That's what she said. However, things only got worse. She suffered from postpartum psychosis, a mental health issue that terribly affected her. I had a compulsive idea of being the perfect mom, she said. I lost track of time. I was disconnected from the outside world. I became an over caregiver. I even kept a notebook of one time I wrote down the number of minutes I spent breastfeeding my daughter. She thought her life was over, as she should now take care of another human being. And she lived with this feeling for 10 years until she decided to, quote, leave the closet and recognize she doesn't like being a mom. With time, I realized I wasn't the only mother out there who felt this way. So I created, quote, Repentant Mother. Oh my gosh. A movement whose goal is far from causing controversy, but for other moms like me to free their voices and openly speak about this. That's the video. This is just like, oh. Can you just imagine, like, you're a 10-year-old girl and you grow up one day and like your friend sends you this video and you're like, oh, my mom didn't want me. My mom regretted having me. Like, imagine as a daughter, you find out that online your mom created some movement and shared this video about how much she regretted becoming a mom. Like, imagine how much that would irrevocably screw you up. And the person who shared this video said, I really hope when this woman's daughter grows up, she sees the video of her mother saying she never wanted her, didn't love her. She sticks her in one of those old age homes where the staff beats them. That's not funny, but it's kind of funny. So this video, here's the thing about this woman, what's her name? Carla. First of all, I want to say this. I want to come at it first and foremost from a place of compassion. And I want to say that I know there are a lot of moms out there who really struggle with motherhood. And they probably never expected to struggle with motherhood this much. They probably didn't think that it would be this hard. And I do think that there are a lot of moms out there who struggle with feelings of regret when it comes to motherhood. My heart aches for them. I don't know what that feels like personally. I've never, ever, once in my daughter's life or during my pregnancies regretted becoming a mom, ever. Even in the hardest moments, even some days where I was in tears, I never regretted becoming a mom. However, not everyone has the same experience of motherhood. And I do know that there are a lot of women out there who really struggle. And I don't know where this woman lives, but I can tell you in Western American society, I know one of the reasons that so many women struggle with motherhood is because we have a very isolated society. You've heard me say that before. The nuclear family, the American dream that the United States has pushed on mothers and wives and fathers and husbands for the past several decades has actually been quite detrimental to the family unit. So I understand there are a lot of moms out there who are really lonely and they don't have help from extended family. They don't have a village of women that all of our ancestors had. It was very unheard of for a long time until pretty recently in human history. It was unheard of for women to go through pregnancy, birth, postpartum, and motherhood alone. So I acknowledge that it's tough for a lot of women in the United States. And I have compassion for a lot of women who really struggle. We're a small family. We're blessed though, because my parents live in my neighborhood. My mom has been there for me a lot. If I need help on the weekends, when she's not working, I can bring my daughter over and I can have a break. So she's not working this week. And yesterday, for example, this week was so crazy. I just did not have any time to myself. I brought my daughter over. She hung out with my daughter, played with her, and I got to take a really long shower and finally wash my hair, do my hair. I got to take like an hour to myself and it was so nice, refreshing. However, I know there are a lot of moms out there who don't get that. They're stuck with sometimes multiple kids, young children at home 24/7. They don't get any help from family or friends. And that can make you sometimes hate motherhood. So I'm going to speak from a place of compassion first. My heart breaks for women who don't like motherhood. And in many ways, they feel guilty about even thinking that. They feel shameful about even having that thought cross their mind because you're not supposed to feel the way about motherhood and you're not. But however, this is what I want to say about these women who get online and talk about motherhood regret. Not every single feeling you have is valid. And I know that's the complete opposite of what society tells you today. Our culture tells us that everything you feel is valid. Your feelings are valid. That is the worst advice you can give to anybody, especially women. No, not all of your feelings are valid. Not everything you feel is true. Not every thought that comes into your head is real and true and honest and good. No, we are fallen human beings. If you think that everything that crosses your mind is the truth, no, there's a lot of dark stuff that we think every day because we're just fallen, broken human beings. All of us are. So this woman, I believe, okay, she may have really struggled in the first years of her child's life. She may have struggled to enjoy motherhood, to feel connected, to like it. But the answer is not to get online and create a movement where you come out of the closet. She said, I came out of the closet. What are you talking about? This is the thing. It's like, no, not every single thought that you have should be shared with the world. We should not be creating an online community of women who hate being mothers. If you are struggling with hatred and regret when it comes to motherhood, that is okay. It's okay to struggle. However, the answer is not to go online and create this whole movement where you have a ton of women cheering you on, egging you on, making you feel like it's the right way to feel. No, if you have feelings like that, the first place you need to go see your spiritual father. Go see a priest. Go talk about these feelings that you are having, these feelings of shame, of guilt, of hatred, of regret when it comes to the gift of motherhood. You need to voice that to somebody, but that somebody that you voice it to should not be the internet. You need to take it to God, take it to Christ, take it to your spiritual father so you can wrestle with it. So you can find a way to get through it and find some sort of sanctification from it. Let me see if I can find this quote from an Orthodox saint. I love this. I think I saved it on my Instagram because it captures motherhood, and it captures how it really is a massive sacrifice. Saint Justin Popovich, he said, "Every mother is a martyr, primarily a Christian mother. She dies every day for her children. If there is anything on earth that is admired by the heavenly angels, that is a good Christian, a good mother. And you, children, will worthily repay your mother if every day you resurrect in your soul memory of her and prayers for her and love and respect." She dies for her children every day. That is so true, especially in the early years of motherhood. You have to die to yourself. And you have to surrender yourself over to motherhood. This is why Orthodox Christians talk about the ascetic life of motherhood. It's an ascetic life. She dies every day for her children. And I understand that can be really hard for a lot of women, especially if you have maybe multiple children, you don't have much help and you're really struggling. It's okay to have a hard time. It's okay to wrestle with that internally, but you do not give power to that, and you do not make that your personality. You don't make a movement out of that. Stop with this nonsense. This is the problem with all of your feelings are valid. No, not all of your feelings are valid. This is what happens when we let women believe that every single thing they think and feel is real and true and good. And then look at this stupid response. Look at this tweet. I don't know who this person, Globe Farah. She says, "Why does it make people so furious and rabidly angry when a woman publicly says she doesn't love being a mother? I'm seeing unhinged levels of wishing terrible things on this woman in the replies." Nobody is angry. Nobody is rabidly angry when a woman publicly says she doesn't love a mother. This woman did not simply say publicly that she doesn't love being a mom. She started a movement online about it. That is not the same thing as getting on your social media and saying, "You know what, guys, I'm going to be honest. I am really struggling with motherhood and I just don't like being a mom." They're two totally different things. Okay, because it's okay sometimes. I know that there are some moms who get online and they're very honest about their motherhood struggles. And they do that not because they want to start a movement, not because they want sympathy. They do that because in many ways, you're able to stand in solidarity with other moms. There are a lot of moms out there who struggle. And sometimes when you see one mom step forward and be honest about her struggles, it makes you feel less alone. That's not what this woman is doing. She created a whole movement out of encouraging other women to regret motherhood. So this response doesn't even respond to what we're talking about. We're not furious and rabidly angry because a woman's publicly says she doesn't love being a mother. No, she created an entire movement and she compared it to coming out of the closet. And this is a trend now. You see this happening all over the internet. You see women coming forward talking about how much they hate motherhood. And they think there's some sort of virtue in being honest about it. Oh, I feel so much better about myself. You have to just be honest about what you feel and who you are. No, you don't, honey. You don't have to be that honest all the time. If there's anybody that you should be honest with, go speak to your spiritual father and be honest with him. Speak to God and be honest with him. You don't need to share everything online, okay? So frustrating. I just feel so bad for that daughter. Imagine you grow up and you see this video online of your mother talking about how much she hated becoming a mom because of you. That is so horrible to leave behind to your daughter. How horrific. Just the worst thing you can do to your child. So no, I'm not on board with this. That's all we have for today. I don't know when I'll be back. Probably be back in a few days with something else new, some other internet drama that everybody is talking about. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Maybe you disagree with me about the calendar, whatever. I'd like to hear your thoughts though. Send me some more topics for the next episode, and Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Happy 2024. It's election year. It's going to be an interesting one. I had a little bit of panic last night. Thinking about what kind of stunts they're going to pull in 2024. And I just, whenever I'm pregnant, I get a little bit paranoid because, you know, you have this new life and you're like, oh my gosh, what if when the baby's born, this happens, that happens, Like I totally panic sometimes. And I just kind of went into this panic of thinking about all the things that they might do in election year. And yeah, I'm not exactly excited about what's to come, but I'm not going to panic. I'm not going to get anxious about it. I texted my daughter's godmother and I'm like, we need to prepare. We need to do this. We need to do that. We need to do this. And I was like freaking out a little bit. And she's like, it's going to be okay. You know, God's people have been through worse before. So I don't know what's going to come in 2024, but I think they're going to really throw everything they have at it because, yeah. So Happy New Year to you all. Happy New Year to you and yours. Have a great start to the new year. Don't forget, 30-day reset starts on January 2nd. See you guys next time. Bye-bye.